Hello, my beautiful, gorgeous dance baby, and welcome to another episode of More Than Dance. Today, we are going to continue our discussion about fear. Now, last time we talked about having fear and moving through it, and the idea that no matter what, the people that you're looking up to, the role models that you see, it's not that they're fearless, it's that they have just gotten used to the idea of taking fear along the ride with them. Today, we're going to be speaking about what happens next. So now you've figured out a way to bring fear along the ride with you. And now what do we do? Because things do come up. And it's not exactly fear. It's more like this idea and this challenge about now you get to go all in. And you get to do exactly what you do because you've gotten used to the idea of fear coming with you. So now what? So I talk about this idea with my students when they come in, and people will sometimes say like, okay, well, like, how often do you think I should take a dance class? And I usually tell them as often as possible. The other question they ask me is, which class should I start with? And I actually love this question, though it is hard to answer. And the reason why it's hard is because I don't know their mindset yet. So one, yes, I don't know their dance ability yet. And two, I don't know their dance mindset. And one is more important sometimes than the other. And can you guess which one? Yeah, it's actually their dance mindset. Because if they have such a strong dance mindset, then I can throw them in the pool and we can get going. And what I mean by that is in a pool, I'm sure you're familiar with swimming pools. There's a deep end and a shallow end. And when we're deciding to go in the water when we're hot, we have two options. We can go down the stairs of the shallow end and we can take our time adapting to the water, one step going down, and then you adjust that layer of your body and it gets used to it, and then you can go down again. Or you just jump off the diving board and you're submersed in the water and your body has this quicker adaptation to the water because it's just like, it's quick. So when my students come in and they're like, oh, what should I do? I'm like, can you handle it? Like, can you jump in the pool? Can you just go off the diving board in the deep end and just like submerge yourself in with all of the dance classes and get in there and go all in? Well, a lot of times the answer is yeah, until they realize the mental strength that is required of them. Because one, we are understanding that we are not going to be perfect when we jump in the pool. Like, we have to completely leave that out the door, along with all the F's that we give. So one, are they able to handle the kind of release in pressure? Because it's not about more pressures added. It's actually, can you handle that there's pressure to release? We oftentimes put pressure on ourselves because we either want to get it, like especially in dance, like, oh my gosh, like I just want to get the choreo. I want to get it. I want to memorize it. And it's pressure, even though it doesn't seem like it's pressure. No one ever decides to do a dance class and is like, I'm going to apply a lot of pressure to myself to make sure that I get these routines. No, it's, I'm going to do this routine. And then also now I see all the places where I want to add pressure. I want to be able to memorize better. I want to be able to do this. And it's kind of in a way cultivating goals. And also it doesn't put into the idea of a goal timeline, because a goal timeline is going to require time. Because if I'm setting a goal for myself about memorization, I get to work on the muscle that improves that. So memory games, memory drills, understanding which part of my bodies need to think about other part of my bodies when I'm transferring weight, when I'm doing this to make myself memorize things better. That's one thing. And then it's also realizing all these things. And these goals, they purposefully take time because it's almost insulting in a way to the skill or to the art of dance. Like if you can just pick that up just like that, well, what is that saying then about people who really work on this as their craft? Skills take time. It's never an overnight success. It's, okay, I know this base layer and now let me go deeper. Okay, now I understand that. Now let me go deeper. And that's with every skill. Even when you are a master, there are still other fun elements to add in. So when we're learning dance, the pressure is, oh my gosh, I want to get all this stuff. And also it's releasing the pressure so that you can adapt to the timeline that can take you to learn those skills and master those skills. Because also each skill is a stepping stone to another skill sometimes. And each skill also is cultivated together like Like we talk about the idea of the quilt, like you need this skill and you need this skill, and together it's this other skill. I don't want to get too much into that because that's a whole other thing. Today, I really want to talk about when you jump in the pool or when you go all in, you're allowing yourself to make mistakes and make errors and get used to the idea that, because this is one of those big fears that come up when people are starting the studio, is what if I look stupid? Or I don't want to look stupid. Or I don't want to feel awkward. I don't want to do something that I know if I spend a little bit more time doing that thing, I'll be good at it. Versus I'm going to be so okay with being bad at this so I can learn it faster. And when I say bad, I mean a mistake maybe every 3 steps or looking at pictures, because when we dance, we're making like just a bunch of pictures, looking at the pictures that I'm making with my body, knowing that they don't align exact. And after 20 years of teaching, I can tell you that the people who end up allowing themselves to make mistakes, allowing themselves to just really jump in and go all in, they're the people that end up learning the fastest. And it's because they stopped caring about what other people think. Because when you think about what fear is, it's not that you're thinking, I won't be able to do this and that's why I'm fearful. It's usually, what if I look dumb trying? What if I'm not going as fast as the other people in the room? What if my body prevents me from being able to do these things? All these kinds of questions, and they do come up. They're real things to think about. And I also have an answer for all of them and a way to help you through all of them. I think about this in terms of the release. Release that pressure off yourself. Yeah, you might learn slower than someone next to you. And so, like, you're taking longer to learn. Good for you. Or you might look silly doing a step. Like, okay, have fun with that. Yesterday, oh my gosh, at Swerve, we were laughing so hard on the steps that we were doing. There was one, and it was like the elbow was going in, and you know, one of my students was like, what's going on there? Like, why does this step look like this and not like what you're doing? And we just had this like whole funny, laughable moment. And it's because they stopped caring about what they look like. They're just like, haha, this is what I looked like doing it. Isn't that funny? And that to me, like, it actually made the class just so much more fun because now we have this like funny inside joke about what this move is, and it's actually just like hilarious. So they released the pressure of looking perfect and the pressure of making everything exact to what I was doing, and just accepted like, this is how that movement came out on me, and it definitely wasn't the way you did it. And guess what they got to do? They got to ask better questions about it. And maybe, you know, in this case, they did succeed with like doing the move exactly how I did it. And also, if they weren't able to, it's like, okay, cool. Like, I want to be able to figure out how to do that. And now I know like the elements that I can work on. Oh, my fist and my elbow and my arm. And now I can calculate that in my brain together and then hopefully have the outcome of, you know, what that looks like on my instructor. And also accept the timeline that, okay, it might take me a little bit more time. Or yeah, you might need a modification. And how cool is that if you know how to ask for a modification? How much more of a fun experience you can have if soon you wean off asking for modifications versus just knowing exactly probably what to do. I always think that's like a really cool moment in my students' transformations as dancers is when they ask for well, there's a whole process to modifications. Sometimes it's like, I'm not going to ask. And then it's getting them to ask. And then once they ask, they're like, okay, yay, I asked and I got a modification and it made this dance easier for me to do. And then the next step is when they just know what to do. And they just know like, all right, she'll probably tell me to do something like this and alter it that way. And you might also, when you're asking for a modification, you might still want to know like what I would tell you to do. And sometimes it's like, yeah, I don't want to be the creator of the modification. I still want to know like what, you know, my instructor is going to tell me. So yeah, that's an obvious release right there, is releasing the idea that, yeah, okay, like I'm going to need a modification. Like, okay, cool. Go me for knowing that I need that. That's a whole other step of your learning experience, is knowing what you need. Because remember, we are not 8 when we're dancing. Like I have students from ages 20 to 82 in my class. Can you imagine if some of my older clients didn't ask for modifications? Like, would they still be able to come? Yes, but would they be feeling something inside of them that makes them feel like it's not accessible? Potentially. So just the sheer fact that they can ask and it's an open environment that they can be accepted doing their modifications, that's huge. When my clients jump in the pool, that's also the agreement of, hey, I trust you as my teacher. I trust that you're going to take care of me. I trust that this is the best way to learn. I trust your expertise. So when I feel my students jumping in the pool, I'm like, oh yes, give me 3 months. That's what I usually tell them. I'm like, give me 3 months and you're going to watch things really shift. So I'm curious for you, have you had an opportunity lately where you've been still holding back despite the adaptation to fear? Recognizing and having awareness of the fear is one thing. Moving through it is another thing. And then going all in with it is the third and biggest thing. Having fear, okay, I realize I have fear. Choosing to move through it with your fear, okay, I still want to do the thing despite the fear that I have. Awesome. I'm still going to congratulate you on that because you need both of those two things to do this third thing that I'm asking you to do. The third thing I'm asking you to do is take the fear, recognize that you have the fear, move forward with it, and now go all in with that fear. So jump in the pool, jump in the deep end, get wet quick, and you're going to find that all of these questions and all these things that you've been holding yourself back on, you're going to move through them really quick. You're going to adapt a lot quicker too. Because when we go through and we have these moments of realization, because you're going to be like, oh, whoa, like I can learn at my own pace, or, oh, I can use my, get the fuck there moment, and I can be able to do this same exact choreography that someone very much more advanced than I can. I can do the same choreo, still execute it. Maybe it's not at the level or the degree that I want it in. And this is something else that I just feel like I need to touch on. Yes. Of course, there's going to be times where you as a beginner dancer or you as a dancer who wants to improve and just be better and always progress, where you're going to be able to compare, right? We always compare to something else or someone else and be like, I still want it to look like that. Those two can exist at the same time. You can still be doing your level of greatness and recognizing that there's another level of greatness that you'd like to achieve. I think about this in terms of all the skills that are compiled in dance. Because when we're doing choreography, we aren't just performing dance moves. Our whole heart and soul is in those moves too. So it's almost like 3 levels of a bunch of different skills that are stacked and it's all into one. So like another way that I can explain this to you is my dad, for example. He plays the guitar and we are dying for him to get out there and perform. And he obviously is like, okay, like I got to practice and I got to da-da-da-da. And awesome, amazing. And, I can respect the preparation before the gig, right? Because the DJ in me is like, yes, we need to be prepared. And also there's a level at which you get to start performing at and a level of which you get to grow into. So when I started DJing, I was not at the level of DJing that I am now. I learned a lot of those skills on the spot, and certain skills are ones that you can only think about in preparation for. It's kind of like an emergency situation type thing. Like when you're preparing for, a plane ride, they tell you, okay, like grab these things. Like, I don't know if anyone could like truly put themselves in the experience of an emergency flight landing until they do it once. And so like certain things like that just happen on the fly when I'm DJing a wedding. It's like, oh, like I gotta make sure I do that. And the fact that I've done it now, like, cause everything comes up when you're in a live performance or even on stage. Like I remember this one time I like actually slipped on the stage and my gut reaction was roll out of it, Chrissy, stand up and like make it part of it and move back to your spot. And like, it was like kind of funny because it was on the playback, you can't even tell, but like people who have seen the routine before, they're like, did you like, well, that was cool. Like, did you add in a roll there? Like, being able to play it off. I couldn't have prepared for that any better than I did, which was just like utilizing the skills I know. Remember we talked about rehearsing your fuck up, like use the skills that you're already good at and put them in to that moment. And a lot of those skills come from being put under that spotlight. Something has to come about. And the other thing that I was going to try and say was there's a level at which we perform at in the beginning when we have skills that we have. So I'm sure myself dancing on stage as a 5-year-old is going to look a lot different than you put me on stage right now. Not only the costumes and everything, but let's just say that it was the same exact thing. Things are going to be better. They're going to be tighter. Like, it's just going to be a better experience for the audience because I know the skills of connecting with an audience. I know the skills of putting my ankles together and keeping things tight and clean. I know how my fingers are going to go. But I was 5 years old and I still did a lot of that stuff. So yes, there's a level of it, but I still got on stage. So there's a level of it that's going to be better for you, but still get in the classroom, still go on stage because you still deserve that experience. And just to know that there's so much improvement when you go all in, it happens at an exponential rate. And it's stuff that isn't planned. You're going to find that the level of you performing and going to class right now is going to be different than you a year from now. I mean, I think logically you understand that, right? I understand it. And I think it makes sense on paper. And yet somehow you still want to perform at the same way that you would a year from now. How can you give yourself that expectation? It's a great goal. I love that goal. Like, okay, I want to be in the mindset of where I would be a year from now. Cool, let's do that. Realistically, it's going to take some time. We're going to have to do some work for that. There's a process to it. And that's part of the fun. If things were easy and we didn't have obstacles, it would just be like, okay, I just did that thing. But once there's an obstacle and you succeed and you go through it, like, oh, now look at this. Now I can put my legs together. Now I understand that concept and why that's important. Or now I understand how to raise my triceps when my arms are out. And I understand that that makes my whole aesthetic look better when I'm dancing. All those things are important for you to learn. And it takes a while because we're not just working on arm dancing, we're working on body dancing. Our whole body is dancing at one time. It's our neck that's coordinated with our shoulders, that's coordinated with our arms, that's with our body, that's with our eyes. Like, have you ever watched a dancer before and you're like, wow, she's dancing with her ears? We all know our ears don't move, but it's a part of your body. And it's like kind of like this just funny joke that like everything is in coordination. It takes time. And release the expectation. Get excited about making mistakes because we know when you make mistakes, you get a great opportunity to learn from them. Remember, this goes back to the ugly stage and getting comfortable embracing the ick and the cringe when you look back like, ooh, that was so. Once you're aware of it though, once you know what makes you cringe, you're like, okay, I got to work on this. Okay, I got to fix this. What you wouldn't want to do is think that you want to do this thing and then you're constantly self-sabotaging yourself because you're not doing the thing to its entirety. It's you holding yourself back slightly because of the fear, because you don't want to look stupid, because you don't want to ask for a modification, because you don't want to compare yourself to others, just knowing that they're going to be ahead of you. And they might be ahead of you, and that's okay. Inherently, you're self-sabotaging yourself when you do that because you're saying, okay, I really want this thing. I'm holding myself back because of these 3 reasons or 1 reason or even a reason I didn't examine with you right now. So I'm not going to do it. Or I'll do it a little bit, not entirely though. I'll go down the shallow end. Instead of going to dance once a week, I'm going to go once a month and somehow expect results like that. Unrealistic. Self-sabotage happens when we want success. It happens when we're on the brink of a transformation. And it creeps itself in. So one of the reasons why when we go all in, we're actually saying, nope, not going to self-sabotage. Nope, not today, not this time. And that is such a powerful moment when you're saying no to that. You're putting up your boundary to that, even being a possibility of happening. When we decide to continue to do what we want to do, but at a lower scale and not going all in, it kind of means that we're doing half in. And actually, what ends up happening from that is we have double the effort. Because going all in would be, I'm going to go to as many dance classes as I can within 1 month, within 2 months, within 3 months. I want to give myself a lot of energy towards this thing versus I'm going to go in here and then I'm going to skip a couple weeks, then I'm going to go in here. Yeah, the results that you want are the same results. You're giving me half of the energy, half of the work, or maybe even less than that. And then you're realizing, okay, well, I'm not making progress. And it's because you never got to the moment of momentum. The momentum moment is so important for a dancer because it's the moment where everything changes from I'm doing this, I'm working hard on this, to wow, I'm seeing results. It's like that little moment like, ooh, I see a result. I see a result happening here. How exciting. And that moment of momentum continues to give you more momentum. It feeds off. That exponential growth happens. And it ends up that you're doing almost less the work because each class is built off of the other class. And I don't mean the choreography is built off I just mean the momentum and the information that you take from one class into the next class, which could be a completely different class, is going to propel you and keep propelling you forward versus taking a class, spending some time away from class, going back into it, and you're like, I kind of lost my groove. I got to pick up where I left off. And this is why we talk about sometimes the idea of being interrupted with your learning and the idea of a transitional moment or an idea of what happens when you have a detour. And we're going to talk about that. I think that's in a couple podcasts from now. And you're going to get an opportunity to learn and manage the mindset around those things. Those are real things. But when you don't have those things happening in your life, when there's no transitional moments and there's no detours, why not go all in? Why not speed yourself up for momentum? Too much time gets lost in the in-between. So if it's controllable, work with what you have, work with your schedule. See where you can find other pockets of doing this thing more often. Get on the dance floor. See how many classes, even if they're not the exact class that you exactly want to take, you're still going to learn a lot. Dance is a lot of different building blocks. So what one style provides, another one doesn't provide. For example, in contemporary, we are working on taking up space. In hip hop, we take up space in a very different way. So what you might learn in contemporary could really transfer over into a hip hop routine, especially if you haven't taken contemporary. There's a different route. There's different grounding techniques that we use, though there's also similarities. So my last words to you are embrace the fear and move forward, and then go all in with the fear. And I want you to see what happens when you dive in the deep end and jump in the pool completely, fully committing yourself to whatever it is you are learning. In this case, dance. If this was helpful for you, I would really appreciate a 5-star written review on Spotify or Apple Podcasts. Thank you so much, and I'll see you on the dance floor.